Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Big Bold You, a show that is designed to help each and every one of you play bigger in your life. And I always tell everybody that you have to think bigger first, to be bolder, which means you are going to have to step out of your comfort zone, and you're going to have to do things when you're scared, when you're afraid, and when you think you can't do them, so you can become the best version of you. I believe that we live in a world where there is a war between good and evil, and the only way evil wins is when good people like you and like myself, when we don't do enough. I promise you, we were sent to this earth to do something so much bigger and greater than we can ever dream of our own heads. That's why we have to collaborate with other people. And I'm so excited because this week we have got an incredible person on our show today, and we're really going to just jump right into our topic. Our topic today is suicide, and our special guest is someone that is an incredible person who's already had extreme success in multiple industries and is really headed up to the top. But along the way, he is making this world a better place. So it is my honor to introduce to everybody Corbette Jackson.
Hi there, how's it going? Hey, everybody.
I know, it's like, I told Corbette, I said, Corbette, you've got so many amazing things to share. And I just think we need to just jump into the video that you have that really kind of shares a little bit more of his story and his journey. And then we'll come back and we'll talk to you a lot more.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Corbette Jackson, and I've just recently embarked on a new project that my team and I have launched called the Open Door Project, that is addressing the concerning rates of suicide all over the world. How this all started for me was really through a song called Open Door, and out of the blue, this song hit top 40 on a Billboard chart, and we were not expecting that. And this song, Open Door, has become a fan favorite and will be included on my new album. When we came together to create this song, there's an artist from China on it. There are two producers from Japan. There's a wonderful female artist from New Zealand. There is my collaborator who works with a lot of major K-pop artists. It's literally this community, this global community that has come together to address this epidemic that not only is a major concern in the US, but also throughout the world. One of the ways to address the concerns of this is music. Because at the end of the day, music is a global language that is able to be understood. It also has the ability to heal. The song itself is a door for anybody, no matter where you're from, what you believe, who you are, what you look like, that we all need a place to be able to go to and feel accepted. So as a part of my new album launch, the Open Door Project is my primary philanthropy. And I think that it is absolutely crucial to raise awareness, to provide compassion where it is needed the most, and to create an open door for everybody.
I've realized that we're oceans apart, that you'll always have every corner of my heart. Distance has made it clear, I can still feel you here. Too many miles to count, still trying to figure out the strength and silence I'm finally getting out. where you and I were chasing down our dreams. Visions of all those years, yeah, they never disappear. Too many miles to count, still trying to figure out the strength and silence. I finally get it now. I don't see you as much as I like to anymore, but where I go, I still know there's an open door. But where I go, I still know there's an open door. Where there's distance, there's forgiveness and a promise. There's an open door. Where there's silence, I'm reminded on the horizon. There's an open door. Too many miles to count, still trying to figure out the strength of silence. I finally get it now. I don't see you as much as I like to anymore, but where I go, I still know there's an open door. Too many miles to count, still trying to figure out the strength of silence. I finally get it now. I don't see you as much as I like to anymore, but where I go, I still know there's an open door. But where I go, I still know there's an open door.
Okay, so obviously, I love everything about that song. I love everything about that video. I love everything about you and
appreciate
really
that,
what
Jen.
you're about. But tell everyone what the Open Door Project is.
So how the Open Door project came out? Well, we wrote this song, and it was a really awesome thing to be a part of, because literally the song you just heard, it was my collaborator and I. His name's Stokes Nielsen. We kind of came up with this idea, and we were talking about just this visual and this symbolic meaning of an open door. And then we were like, we should take this and collaborate with some other people. And so we went to this kind of this writers retreat thing, and there were people from all over the world, and we ended up writing this with, I think there was a writer from China on it, there's a writer from Australia and New Zealand on it. Sorry, I know Australians New Zealanders get bent out of shape if
Exactly,
you refer to them
they
as she's from New Zealand. And then we had 2 Japanese producers on it, and which was really cool, because it's kind of like a part of the embodiment of the song is about collaborating and working together to get a big message out, something like this. And it was just a really awesome creative process. And it just basically talks about, no matter how far you roam, how lost you feel, no matter what the places you go, there's always a place to come back to. And I think everybody, no matter where you're from, what you do, everybody needs that place where they feel they can come and feel that connection with other humans.
Well, there's some lyrics in that song that talks about where there's silence. And, to me, it makes me think there are so many people suffering in silence.
Sure.
I want to know the connection from this song to the Open Door Project, to how you got involved with the platform of suicide. Because to me, first of all, I love the song. The first time I heard it, I just could not, it's like, there's an open door, because I think when you are suffering, when you're a person suffering, a lot of times you are suffering in silence because you don't let anyone know, but you feel like there's no open door. You feel like things are closed, and music is universal. It's really the universal language.
100%.
So I want to know how you got involved with the suicide platform. How this song, how did the Open Door Project even come about, and
Sure.
really, what is it? I know you talk a little bit on the video.
Right. Yes, ma'am. And so we, I actually have a really great friend of mine. I'm very fortunate to call. He's a comedian from Japan. His name's Yuji Ayabe, and he's a great friend of mine. And we were over. We played the Bristol Night Race this past year, which was really awesome. And shout out to my friends at NBC and NASCAR. Thank y'all for having us there. But yeah, we were sitting in our hotel room in Bristol, and me, Yuji, and Stokes, and we were kind of just talking about this idea, because the thing is that suicide actually is a very concerning, concerning thing. It's an epidemic actually in Japan, as it is in a lot of places, and U.S. being one of those places, and so. Yuji was actually talking about how, it's very common in Japan, in their society. They don't really talk about a lot of things, and they keep it all in, and he's like, you'll just go in your room and leave the door closed. And, it's little by little, you have to open that door slowly, and it takes time. And we just kind of started thinking about some ideas. What could we do? How could we make a positive difference in these people's lives that are suffering in silence? And so we just sort of came up with this project. And not only that, but there's other people out there. Yuji is a really well-known guy in Japan. There's also really well-known people. You're doing your thing with this and raising awareness, and also Solomon Thompson is doing
Thomas.
Okay, yeah. He's doing, who plays for the 49ers, Solomon Thomas, who plays for the 49ers. He's doing his thing and raising awareness. I believe his sister, unfortunately committed suicide. And, after a year of him signing the NFL, that's the whole thing, is just, you never know when this is going to strike, because the people that actually do take action on it do it in silence, and which is a really it's a challenging thing.
Well, one thing I love that you just said is you're doing the exact same thing. I mean, Solomon Thomas is somebody that is using his platform to shed awareness and hope for the suicide epidemic. But that's exactly what you're doing. You're using a platform. One of the things I think about all the time is, when Solomon Thomas was drafted, number 3 draft choice at the time, he didn't know that his sister was going to die by suicide later. Right. You have within your heart that you're using your platform and to make a positive difference in the world. And, not very many people do that. I mean, there are a lot of people that they develop themselves so they can make more money, so they can have a bigger house, so they can have a nicer car, so they can go on some great vacations. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that at all, because there's not. But most people are focused on how to use their gifts and talents to make their lives better. And one of the things that I think is so impressive with you, similar to Solomon Thomas, similar to Yuji, similar to so many people out there, and that is you're using your gifts and talents in music, and you're using the platform that you've been given to really inspire people to have a higher purpose. That's what you're doing, and I commend you for that. And I want to know, where did that come from? I mean, did you have something that happened to you, or just in life's experience during your journey, did you see some things that thought, I can make a difference in this?
Jens, first of all, I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much. And you're doing some great things, and thank you for creating a platform for people who do want to come out and put good out there in the world, to come out here and be able to do that. So I want to thank you for those kind words. And,
thank you.
I think a lot of I always go back to my childhood. And when I first had this moment where I knew that I was going to do music somehow, some way, I grew up in a very abusive home, and so when I was 5 years old, my mother, my brother, and me and I were placed in protective custody. and we actually went to Puerto Rico. And there was, a place there that I would just I think I was just seeking a place to kind of go and be away from all of that. And so there was this big field for whatever reason. To this day, I still love wide open spaces. But I'll go there, and I would listen to music, and those songs, those artists, the people on the other side of the mic, it was cathartic. It was a place that I could go, and I felt understood. I felt that it was a safe place for me. And I just remember in that moment, even in my 6-year-old mind, I just remember going, I want to do that. I want to offer, and in that moment I felt that's what I was being told that I was going to do. It really wasn't even my choice. It was just in that moment, that's what I was being told I needed to go do. And so, I think that was when I really first was like, okay, this is my, and so that in itself, it's not about big cars. It's not about, those are just, by the way, I'm not saying that's wrong. That's
No.
just, that just doesn't drive me.
Right.
And so, ever since a young age, I've always wanted to just be a positive influence. I think provide hope,
Right.
For those people who feel.
Well, to me, music is a gift. I mean, it's a gift, and it's a gift, like you were saying. You have been given the gift to be able to sing. And so it's a gift to you, but you provide us the gift by, I mean, literally, because
appreciate
just like
that,
you were
Jess.
talking about, recently I had a family member that died by suicide. And, you talk about wide open spaces by the Dixie Chicks. Well, landslide. And I hope I don't get emotional just talking about it, but literally a family member took their life, and I was, it's odd because you just don't know how you're going to get through certain situations that happen in your life. Now, you're going to get through them because there's no other option, right? But I was driving in my car, and the song Landslide by Dixie Chicks came on, and I just started bawling my eyes out. I mean, like the boohoo bawling. And I just kept listening to that song over and over and over and over, because like you said, it was therapeutic for me.
Absolutely.
And to me, when you really listen, I don't know about you, and I'm not a music expert by any means, but to me, when I'm listening to music, it's just the beat, it's the melody, and it's just catchy.
Yeah.
And then you go deeper and you start listening to the lyrics. And, that's what I remember the first time I listened to your song, Open Door. And it was just like, it catches you. But then before you even told me about the Open Door project, I started to listen about, the silence and the open door. And one of the things I know I shared with you earlier today is I think there's two types of people. There are the people that are out there right now that are suffering in silence, that have thought about taking their lives, that either in the past or are currently thinking that. And then there are the people that love them, the people that have no idea that that's what they're thinking, and they've never, ever had that thought cross their mind.
Right.
But it's crazy as it sounds, the universal language of music
That's right.
can touch someone. And I know, I know that's an original song, you and your collaborators, Stokes Nielsen, and some other, like you said, great artists were a part of that. Are you looking to do more type of songs that way that really touch people's hearts?
Oh, look, 100%. And first of all, I feel I have the greatest career in the world. And why do this if you don't have something else driving you, something deeper with some sustenance? And so 100%, which is kind of the whole embodiment of the Open Door Project, is creating opportunities to collaborate with artists all over the world. And what you were talking about is music, as trite as it may be, music is a universal language. And the thing about suicide is that it's not just an issue in the U.S. It's not just an issue in Japan. It's a epidemic epidemic, it's an emergency wherever human beings are, and no human being belongs in a closed, dark place. It's just not. It's not acceptable.
Right.
And and I remember you calling me when you heard that song and you shared that with me, Jens, and that was, really powerful, and I appreciate you sharing that. And, it was kind of the whole creative process of the Open Door video. Like, as y'all saw in the beginning there, is, it was really cool. Sometimes, I'm really fortunate to have such a great team, which is another important thing about developing, in anything you do, is having great relationships with people around you. And, people that have, you don't have to have the same ideas or beliefs, but certainly kind of the same the same objectives and goals. And I'm really fortunate to work with a team that feels that way. And, when we were kind of doing this, in the video, there's a lyric in there that's called, it's 2 a.m. and there's lightning in the streets. And finding those people, there's a little impetuosity, there's a little danger there, and finding those people that will stand by you and stick with you through the hard times. And, we were kind of walking in this alley trying to find a place to shoot this video, and we came across this brick wall that you actually see in the video. And, it starts with me picking up and kind of rolling back, because a lot of words, as you were talking about the music, words are very powerful. And not only the words that you say to other people, but the words you say to yourself. Those are very powerful. And sometimes we have to examine the lens that we're looking through. And so we pick up this, and those are the memories, these happy times. But if you notice, when you pick up that lens and you start looking through it, it's other people. It's about human connection. It's about relationships. And those are the moments, those are the things that are going to get you through those dark times. And, and one of the parts of the video, you kind of see me, there's actually a head. It looks like a head in the background if you kind of see it. And I love the idea of shooting that, because it's like I'm standing there and I'm singing this song, and these are the words that are, this is kind of in your head, and that it's a very powerful thing, because, when you write, yes, you write for other people, but this is one of those songs I actually have to say, like, I needed that song at the time for myself, and I still do. And, when I listen to that, it is such a reminder, because we're, as musicians, we're on the road all the time, and we're away from the people that we love and things that are familiar to us. And while there's an exciting aspect of that, it's a little challenging at times. So this is sometimes, like, I hate to call myself out, but I'll just listen to it, and like, man, this is, and also having, people like you and, these people that we collaborate on the song, it's those relationships, the memories, like, I'm going to think about this at some point, and us talking about these things that are going. So I think that is also, like, a really important thing, is to, form those relationships and, do something good.
Right.
with them.
Well, one of the things that we've touched on, because, this is, you even shared a story with me about somebody that I think went to high school with you and had reached out to you and was struggling, and had even shared with you that
Wow,
they were in a place that he was thinking about taking his life.
That's right.
And so, to me, here's the question: does a calling pick you, or do you pick a calling? And I think that a calling picks you. And I think that's really, I think this platform of suicide, this calling has picked you, and it's picked me, and we're saying, okay, we're going to do whatever we can do with our gifts and our talents and our resources. And I know, one of the things that we've even talked about is, just getting involved with fundraising efforts, with awareness efforts, with just the human effort, like you were saying. I mean, there's one thing, what can you do to get involved? And I actually think I've got an Ask Jen's question. that is similar. So one of the things that we do is we talk to our viewers and we talk to our network and we talk to people, and there's a question, and that question is, what can we do to help make the suicide epidemic better? Well, what I believe, number one, is that you have to become aware that there is an epidemic. If you haven't done research on your own, I really encourage you to do that. Number two, realize that it starts with the human connection first. It's reaching out to people, letting them know that you love them, letting them know that you care. If you are somebody who is suffering in silence, please tell someone, connect with leaders. And I consider Corbette Jackson to be a leader. I consider Solomon Thomas to be a leader. There are many leaders in our industry and outside of the industry that we are doing our best to make this better. But let people know if you're suffering, and if you're not the one suffering, talk freely and have these conversations. So here's my question to you, Corbette, is as you go through your journey, and I know you shared a little bit about how it does get lonely.
Sure.
We know that suicide for men, there's a higher percentage of
Correct,
suicide
right.
for men than there are for women.
Right.
So honestly, is it a conversation that you find yourself having with other men?
I have definitely had a few interesting encounters, and it kind of goes in. It had nothing to do with really being in the role, that I'm in, whether that be a leadership role or a public eye. It's just these happen to be chance encounters, which kind of goes to what I was going to say is, like, as some people may be watching and go, well, oh, I'm not a leader. I'm not trying to be be celebrity. And I just, to serve as a reminder is like, not only is it okay to talk about these things and to reach out in those moments of darkness, but also, I think that kindness and love, if you're going, what can I do to improve, this epidemic, that, is just be kind to people and love, and you never know somebody's story. And it's interesting. The first time I met you, I remember I came over here with a buddy of mine, and I flew, and we met with one of your sons, and we were sitting there at lunch, and, you asked me my story. I was like, oh, and so I said that, and you were so moved by it. And at the end of the lunch, you came up to me, you're like, wow, Corbette, you really have a powerful story. And, that's really special. And, it's so interesting because I remember laying in my hotel room that night after my conversation with you, Jens. And I just remember going like, wow, something about the way you said it, I believed it. And I never really accepted that. Even after, 26, 27 years, like, wow, I never accepted that. And I was like, man, I've spent my whole life trying to run from my story, instead of trying to embrace it. And so, I think a part of that is like, no matter what your story is, no matter what you've done or been, is that makes you unique, and you can actually use it to your benefit. And I'm a living example of that. And you don't have to be a celebrity. You don't have to be a leadership. You don't have to go out and do huge things. You can just, by sharing your story with somebody, or, just being kind to and loving,
Right.
you can make a huge difference
But
by doing
I
that.
could not agree with you more that
Yeah.
it's typically the little simple things that make such a big difference. And when you talk about being kind and loving,
Yeah.
well, I always say that a person cannot grow to their fullest potential unless they're in an environment of love. I just believe that with every fiber of my being. But you have to love yourself first.
Right.
And there are so many people out there that, to even what you experienced, they've experienced so many things in their life that they don't love themselves. But that doesn't mean you're going to always be that way. Let me tell you that right now.
That's right.
Just because where you are right now is maybe someplace you don't want to be, you don't have to stay there. That you don't have to stay there. And I believe that sometimes you literally have to breathe love into other people. I just think sometimes you have to love people before they love themselves. You have to believe in people before they believe in themselves. You've got to have faith in people before they have faith in themselves. And to what we're talking about, how music being the universal language, sometimes it's a song
Yeah.
that touches a person's heart and soul in a way, and it starts a conversation, it starts an emotion, it starts a feeling. And I just think that what you're doing, first of all, you're starting at that human contact level. And I think what you said is spot on. You don't have to be aspiring to be a top celebrity or a musician or anything like that. All you have to do is, number one, start talking about it. Number two, I think, start to really evaluate who you are and what it is that you're doing. And I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing a little bit, but I know for a time period you worked in a hospital.
I did, actually. So I was maybe 19 or 20 when I really started having some success in the industry, especially in Georgia, where I'm from. I'm from Noonan, Georgia. In that area, I had a song called Heart of a Champion. It was the first thing my collaborator Stokes and I did together, and it just took off, and it was like the most requested song in that area, and it was just a lot. And so I went literally from being nobody, this kid from Noonan, Georgia, to being known everywhere in that region, and it was just a lot. And I was having some severe mental health issues, and I was derailing internally, and I wasn't talking about it. Unfortunately, I had people around me that were supportive, and so I sat down, and I just had to walk away, because I was like, I'm going to derail this, and I'm not responsible enough to do it. So I ended up going and pursuing a career in emergency medicine and started working in a trauma room. And it was a very profound time in my life, and I saw a lot, and it was life-changing. And I was like, man, there is something bigger that I'm supposed to be doing. This was supposed to be a part of that journey, but there's something bigger to it. And so here we are. This is what I feel I'm supposed to be here doing.
Well, when we met that first time and you were sharing your story, and you talked about how when you saw people in that state, in that hospital, where their life, they may continue or may not continue.
Right.
It's when you start to realize, hold on, every second on this earth counts.
Sure.
Everything I do counts.
If you're here for
A
a reason.
And you have to evaluate the gifts and talents that you've been given. And I know that was something that you had shared, that in that moment when you're watching so many people in a very delicate situation, whether they're going to live or whether they're not going to live, and you start to realize, well, what are my gifts and talents? And like you said, you didn't have Heart of a Champion happen to you just to say, hey, this is pretty cool.
Right.
You had it happen to you because you were supposed to touch other people with that gift.
I appreciate you saying that, Jens. And I think a lot, like yourself, people, no matter what your gift is like, if you were given a gift and an opportunity, it might be a little bold to say this, but it is big, bold. You're right. That's the name of the show.
Right. That's what we're talking about. Big, bold.
But I've sort of, at least for me personally, I can't talk for other people, of course, but at least for me personally, I feel that if you were given opportunities, a gift, you have a responsibility to take advantage of that and to use it to do great things with it. If you chose not to, I just think that's that's really unfortunate. And so I just don't want to be faced with that, because the truth is that I don't know how long I have here. So I want to make every second, count,
Oh,
as
yeah.
much as I can.
I know, you said a responsibility. Okay, that's exactly how I feel. I mean, this is in my mind, and I know I'm not the only one because you said that. I know I'm not the only one, but this is really how I feel. I feel that there's going to be a day when I'm going to have to be held accountable for all the gifts and talents, and I just cannot not say I tried my best, my hardest. I can't, I could not live with myself if I didn't. And to your point, we don't know how long we're going to have. In fact, the last funeral that I went to was a couple weeks ago, and incredible guy. I mean, very, very successful guy. And there was 800 people at this man's funeral, standing room only. People just kept coming in and kept coming in. And, one of his friends, when he was given a eulogy, was saying how, this gentleman, in his mind, every person that he saw, he said, I just imagine that they are wearing a sign, and the sign around their neck says, "Make me feel important." And, I cannot tell you how that is just, my gift. I just want to make everybody feel important because I know every person is important.
Yeah.
And I think that's really at the core. I'm involved in a lot of different organizations. And one of the organizations that I'm involved with, one group, is called the World Changers Network. And every year we have an event. It's called The Conversation. And this year at the event, we were talking about legacy. And I believe everybody has a legacy. But I believe that all legacy starts with love as the foundation. So you've been given these gifts and talents. Your foundation is starting in love. But it really truly is to show love and kindness to other people. And you're making people feel special through your songs and your music and your lyrics. And you're using this platform to make the suicide epidemic better. And this is just the beginning. I know it's just the beginning. Believe me, I've already told people that this might be the first time you have heard of Corbette Jackson, but it's not going to be the last time. But I just can't tell you how impressed I am with what it is that you're doing. So my next question to you is, you've been so open and candid with your struggles. And how have you gotten past those struggles that you've dealt with?
Music is very cathartic to me, and it is certainly a form of expression. And I just have great people around me. I like to work out. I like to take, that's very important to me, especially on the road. We're moving a lot. We're in different time zones. So taking care of my body, I work out a lot, eat very well. And a lot of just having great relationships and getting to do things like this and putting things out in the world. When you're doing what you feel your purpose is, to me, that provides a lot of comfort and a lot of affirmation. And kind of talking about that is, I often ended up talking to people about what they feel their purpose is. And oftentimes, a lot of people will pause, and even maybe you watching this, if I were to ask you, what do you feel your purpose is? Do you feel you found that? And a lot of people go, I don't know. Or if they do say it, it's work related. And I think that's very interesting. There's it doesn't have to make a difference, like we were kind of talking about, it doesn't have to be work related. I was just in an Uber with a guy, and he was, driving me to the airport to come here. And I was asking him, we were kind of talking about that. Man, that's really cool about your music. That's got to be awesome. I'm like, it really is. And I feel I'm very fortunate and blessed to do this. It's like, we started talking about purpose. I asked him, it's like, what about you? Do you feel, he goes, well, it's very interesting. He goes, I could be doing a lot of things, but I'm doing this because this is a way I have found that I have been able to do mission work through driving people in a car. I've had a lot of conversation about God and introduced a lot of people to God through this. And I just thought that was, very, very interesting, that it was just a different perspective. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, some big career or anything like that. It could just be as simple as, something like that.
Well, what I think that is really special about you is you are you're very reflective, and I think you're very thoughtful. And what I get from you is that if there is anything that you can do to make this world a better place, you're going to do it. I mean, I get that from you. It's one of the reasons why when I first met him and I started to talk to him about his story, and then we talked about this suicide platform, and we talked about what it is that you're all about. I just immediately connected with you because I feel, listen, your souls speak to one another. Your subconscious minds are talking to other people. And you know how there's people that you say, oh my gosh, I feel like I've known you forever. And I really do believe, because there is a deeper soulful connection that you have with people. So when you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when you are in a totally different place than you are right now, because you will be, what do you want to be part of your legacy? What in your mind, 5-10 years from now, when you look back and you say, gosh, this is what I've created, what does that look like for you?
I think it's just as simple as, again, creating a place where people can just come and forget about whatever might be going on outside of the venue, wherever it might be. You're with people, that connection. I think just bringing people together where you can just smile, and I don't want to take myself too seriously. I like to write songs. Like, we have a new song coming out in 2020 called High Tide, and it's just a fun song, that I like to think makes people smile. And so just giving people a space to come and feel, accepted, and I think they can just be themselves and enjoy the moment. Be 100% present.
Well, I think it's very important, and I think that's one of the things that music does is it puts people in the present moment. Because listen, if you're stressed out, if you've got anxiety, if you've got regret, it's because you're thinking about the past, and that means you're living in the past. And if you've got anxiety or angst, it means that you are worried about the future, but the future may never come. And what you're so scared about may never happen. Let me tell you. But all you have is right now. That is all you have is right now, the present moment. And I believe that's one of the magical things about music is you're in the present moment.
Sure.
The reason why you were able to have some therapeutic experience at that small age when you listen to that one song. And the reason I was able to bawl my eyes out over the loss of a family member dying by suicide is because I was listening to a song that brought me into the present moment.
The song is the invitation, right?
And
you make
it's
the
the
choice.
catalyst.
Exactly.
It's the catalyst
Right,
because,
right.
we live in a world where we're so busy thinking about the future or the past, worried one way or the other. But music, what is a magical part about music is it pulls us into the present. That if we stop and we listen to the music, it puts us in a present time moment. So when you said, gosh, what I want to see is I want people at a venue, or I want to see people smiling and I want to see them happy because what you want is you want to bring people into the present. And that's all we have. That's all we truly have. And I think that your gifts and talents in music is definitely God-given. I think your experience, what you went through as a child, there are no accidents. Everything happens for a reason.
Not at all.
And I say things happen happen for you, not to you. Again, everything that happens to us is either
Very
for
true.
our protection or for our growth.
Right.
And you having that experience in the hospital, working there for a while, I believe it was really so you could see, you know, life is short, it's present. I mean, it's fleeting.
Yeah.
And you're using the gift of pulling people into the present, which if you are suffering with suicidal thoughts, and if you are in a place where your self-love is low, it's because you're living in the past or you're worried about the future. And we want to help bring you into the present with the gift of music and the gift of love and kindness. So from the bottom of my heart, Corbette, thank you so much for coming on the
Thank you
show.
for having me, Jen.
And thank you
having
for
me.
sharing your gift with the world.
Well, that's a mutual feeling. I appreciate you doing the same. And again, this is a perfect example of, collaborating and connection. And I'm glad to be here.
Yeah,
Glad to be
and
here. Thank
listen,
you for letting me
and
be a
I
part
am
of
going to
this.
use your gift and talent to raise some funds. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm going to use this
Yeah.
gift and talent to not only raise awareness to the
Yeah.
suicide topic and epidemic, but we're also going to be using Corbette and his incredible team. And listen, I'm going to jump on that bandwagon on your team and do everything that I can to help you, get to where you want to go. And again, if you are suffering in silence, if there's somebody that you know that you just are worried about or concerned about, please start the conversation of suicide, of self-love, and please let's pull each and every one of our loved ones and ourselves into the present moment through the gift of music and through the gift of love. And until we meet again, be big, be bold, and most importantly, be you. Bye-bye.